Hello, this is Father David, here with day 15 of the Nativity fast. The gospel reading for today is a very powerful one where Christ comes to the temple in St. Luke's gospel and cleanses it, goes through, and by cleansing, we're obviously not talking about cleaning it, but a practice had come into play when the people of God, when the Israelites were worshiping God. They had set up booths and tables, merchandise, sacrificial animals that were commanded by God to be offered, birds, lambs, all of this. But where they had set up their stands for buying and selling and trading all of these animals was in the court of the Gentiles. See, the temple in Jerusalem was organized almost not in concentric circles, but in levels of intimacy with God. Of course, in the very middle, the Holy of Holies, only the high priest went. And then the priests went into the holy place. And then the Israelites were able to go in the area outside that. And then the women in the court of the Gentiles. And so by setting up this merchandise area in the court of the Gentiles, the Jews had effectively cut out the Gentiles' ability to come and to see the God of Israel, to pray to the God of Israel. And Christ said here in the Gospel of Luke, it is said that my house will be a house of prayer. And not only a house of prayer, but a prayer for all the nations. But you have made it a den of thieves. You've turned it into a religious racket, buying and selling and the exchanging of money, and being so concerned about that instead of the primary aspect of this place, which is to be prayer. But our meditation today, a commentary on the Gospel in Luke, is from St. Cyril of Alexandria, who has an additional take on this. And he says this: the time had now come for the shadow to draw to an end. That means the shadow, the type, that which was foreshadowing, right? To draw to an end, and for the truth, so to speak, to shine forth, even the lovely beauty of Christian conduct, and the glories of the blameless life, and the sweet, rational savor of the worship in spirit and truth. For this reason, very justly did the truth, Christ, as one who with his Father was honored in their temple, command that those things that were by the law should be carried away, such as the materials for sacrifice and burning on incense, and that the temple should manifestly be a house of prayer. For his rebuking the dealers and driving them from the sacred courts when they were selling what was wanted for sacrifice certainly means this, as I suppose, and this alone. So for St. Cyril, this was not only a realigning of the trajectory of the temple to be a house of prayer for all nations, but also to show that these sacrifices themselves were rapidly coming to an end, and it would be very shortly after this that the religious authorities, absolutely outraged by what Christ had done in the Holy Temple, are now saying we must put him to death. We must sacrifice him for the good of the people. And indeed, he would become our sacrifice. The one who, as we prepare in the Nativity fast, would place himself in the food trough of animals, would sacrifice himself, eventually placing himself not in the box of a food trough, but in the sarcophagus of a new tomb, and would offer himself as food to the faithful, as a sacrifice, as a meal, as something that would cleanse us from our sins, from our dealings with this world. So let us remember this, that Christ was coming not only to present himself to Jew and Gentile alike, but also to do away with these animal sacrifices and provide for us the once and for all pure and blameless and eternal sacrifice of his own body and blood. May we prepare each time to receive this in a worthy manner, as St. Paul says, that we would be partakers of and communicants of the very presence of the life-giving body and blood of God himself. So God bless you, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.